From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubara.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, President Jonathan inaugurates Advisory Committee on National Dialogue, gives them 6 weeks to come up with framework for the conference. Former head of state gives expert advice on national security, asks the armed forces to engage more in intelligence gathering and sharing. Aviation Minister explains suspension of Dana Airlines just as a passenger on critical list from the associated plane crash dies in Lagos. And President Hamid Karzai accuses NATO of failing to bring stability to Afghanistan in over a decade.
On business news tonight, the Central Bank of Nigeria is more likely to tighten its monetary policy in 2014.
And on sports news, President Jonathan approves 200 fans to be airlifted to Addis Ababa to cheer the Super Eagles when they confront Ethiopia in 2014 World Cup qualifier.
We begin tonight with the President giving the Committee on National Dialogue a framework of 6 weeks to formulate an all-inclusive process that will make all Nigerians contribute towards how they will live together as one. At the inauguration of the committee today, President Goodluck Jonathan described their task as a national project aimed at resolving long-standing impediments to a united Nigeria.
Barely 1 week after announcing their names, President Jonathan gathered all the members of the advisory committee but one, Professor Ben Wabweze, who is said to have sent his apologies because he is undergoing medicals abroad. They have come for the onerous task ahead, the task of getting Nigerians to dialogue on how to deepen their bond as one people. He says it is in line with the yearnings of the people and to ensure that the ship of democracy does sail smoothly.
Let me emphasize that this is a national project. It's sincere and fundamental undertaking aimed at realistically examining and genuinely resolving long-standing impediments to our cohesion and harmonious development as a truly united nation.
The terms of reference for the advisory committee include to call all relevant stakeholders with a view to drawing up an agenda for the confab or dialogue, make recommendations on the structure, make recommendations on how representation of the various groups will be determined, and advise on the legal framework, among others.
Over the period, we have been wasting so much time putting wedges on our fault lines. This committee and the assignment is to rather put a strong mortar that will bind our cleavages and make our nation a stronger nation for our own interests and especially for the interests of our children yet to come, so that we will all have a Nigeria of our dream.
Chairman of the advisory committee observed that the government has been sitting on the fence following criticisms over whether or not the convocation of the conference, and thanked the president for taking the bulls by the horn.
President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, having decided to convene such a conference, must be commended for showing courage. He has, by his present move, shown himself to be a listening president, a president willing to accede to the yearnings of majority of Nigerians, a president with a strong commitment to sincere constitutional reform as part of his ongoing transformation agenda. The president's sincerity and commitment are further buttressed by the fact that he has not established any so-called no-go areas for this committee, thus opening up for discourse all aspects of our present constitution and national life.
The members of the committee are hopeful that they will succeed, and by the time they finish with the assignment, critics of the idea would have been persuaded by its benefits to the nation. Chukuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, as the Senator Kurumu committee sets out on its mission, several reactions have started trailing President Jonathan's decision to convoke a national conference. There are concerns about the agenda and representation of delegates. Our political correspondent, Shenwa Kimbaloye, tells us more.
We need a sovereign national conference to fashion out a new constitution.
That is one of Nigeria's prominent legal practitioners asking for a sovereign national conference in 2010. But in 2013, the leader of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Bola Tinubu, seems not to agree with that.
I see a contradiction here. I will discuss with my party. I see a diversion here. I will discuss with my party. I see deception here. I will discuss with my party. I see lack of honesty and integrity here.
The constitution of the committee chaired by Senator Okunomu has also generated reactions.
I told you we'll never canvass for the conference. And we therefore don't know the name, the content, and the area it will cover. We don't even know the scope.
It's just a cosmetic approach to our solution. It's not a direct approach. The real approach to the solution is national sovereign conference.
It's a right step in the right direction. And by setting up this committee, I think the president is trying to convince Nigerians that he means business.
A big question is how badly do we need this national conference, and is it capable of solving the nation's problems?
National conference, whatever I want to call it, the confabulation representing Nigeria, like Brother Agi pointed out, will ask, one, do we want to live together? And if so, how? Those are the two questions. And once they elaborate the blueprint that will create a new Nigeria, such blueprint will be put into a national referendum or a plebiscite.
Naturally, you expect as a young man the unity of this country is not negotiable.
Another big question is the issue of representation and the constitution of delegates to the conference.
Every nationality must be respected, like I said, but we cannot look at a way, of course, maybe there will be proportional representation. For instance, an Ogun, 5,000 people, Yoruba, or almost 50 million people. Now, we may look at proportional representation based on the numerical strength of this group, but when it comes to voting at the conference, each nationality should have more than one vote.
This country is standing on a tripod, the Hausa, the Igbos, and Yorubas. And if for us to move ahead, this three tripod has to come together.
It's better to talk to Jojo than box.
It is hoped that with this issue of national conference, it will get everyone talking, and at the end of the day, the many problems of Nigerians may just be on its way to be solved. I'm Shehu Okimbaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
Politics proper now. Ahead of the 2015 elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission hopes security concerns in some parts of the country would have been addressed before then. The national chairman of the commission discussed this during a meeting with chairmen of state independent electoral commissions in Abuja. Professor Tahiru Jega also said the commission is constantly meeting with security agencies and working hard to ensure everything is ready to help conduct credible elections in such areas of concern.
Chairmen of 36 state independent electoral commissions and the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission meeting in Abuja. They had to share experiences and knowledge on the voter register and continuous voter registration being planned by the National Commission.
Not only voting that's not going to be either possible or impossible, to secure our life in some areas is also impossible. I don't know whether, in terms of technicalities, there are many things you have adopted in place to take care of that.
For example, 200 people registered in a polling unit and 198 voted. It means that for the past 8 or 7 years, only 2 people died, only 2 people migrated, only 2 people fall sick.
We are doing our best with the optimism that the government and the security agencies are also doing their best, so that by the time we get to 2015, the general atmosphere and the environment will be more secure for the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections. The whole idea about the permanent voters' cards is that it's something that can be used on election day with a card reader and cross-checking with fingerprint to authenticate who the holder of the card is, whether he's a genuine holder of that card. And that can go a long way.
Some of the chairmen also expressed concern over the location of some polling units.
Frankly, if you have any information about polling units in shrines, share it with us. Because, yes, because polling units are not supposed to be in shrines. No, Anambra State, we discovered it and we relocated it.
The Commission has promised to ensure that most of the lessons learned from the continuous voters registration carried out in some states will help enrich the planned nationwide exercise coming up before the end of the year. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.